Everyone said Daniel and Sophia were the perfect couple. He was the golden boy of Charleston real estate. She was the heiress to a shipping fortune. Their wedding at the sprawling Caldwell estate was supposed to be the society event of the decade. But when the church doors creaked open right before the vows, the silence that followed was deafening. We all expected an objection, maybe a jealous ex-girlfriend causing a scene. What we got was something far more destructive. It wasn't just the woman in the red coat who walked in. It was the 3 miniature versions of the groom trailing behind her that turned Daniel's face ghost white. This is the story of how a billion-dollar wedding turned into a crime scene of the heart. The humidity in Charleston that Saturday was oppressive, the kind that sticks your shirt to your back the moment you step outside. But inside the air-conditioned master suite of the Caldwell estate, everything was crisp, cool, and smelling faintly of lavender and old money. Sophia Caldwell stood before a floor-to-length gilt mirror, staring at a reflection that didn't quite feel like her own. She was 32, breathless, and draped in $40,000 worth of custom silk and lace designed by a personal friend of her mother's in Milan. Her bridesmaids, a flutter of pastel yellow and nervous energy, were busy fixing a stray curl or adjusting the train of her dress. "You look like a queen, Soph," her best friend Jessica said, pressing a tissue to the corner of her eye. "Daniel is going to faint. Literally drop dead." Sophia forced a smile. Let's hope not. The paramedics would ruin the aesthetic. She laughed, but the sound was brittle. For the last 3 days, a knot had been tightening in her stomach. Everyone told her it was just cold feet, the standard pre-wedding jitters. After all, she was marrying Daniel Sterling. Daniel was perfect. He was 35, with the jawline of a news anchor and the charm of a Southern politician. He had come into her life 2 years ago like a whirlwind, sweeping her off her feet during a charity gala at the Jib Museum. He didn't have her family's generational wealth. He came from a humbler background in Ohio. But he had ambition. He had built a boutique architecture firm from the ground up. Her father, a man who usually looked at suitors like they were termites in his foundation, had actually approved of him. "He's a builder, Sophia," her father had said over scotch one evening. "Men who build things understand the value of stability." But stability felt far away this morning. Sophia turned away from the mirror and walked to the window overlooking the lawn. The ceremony was set to take place in the family's private chapel on the grounds, a Gothic revival structure made of grey stone that had hosted Caldwell weddings for a century. White roses, thousands of them, lined the path. It was a fairy tale. So why did she feel like she was suffocating? Down the hall, in the groom's suite, the atmosphere was vastly different. Daniel Sterling was in the bathroom, splashing ice-cold water on his face. He gripped the edges of the marble sink so hard his knuckles turned the color of bone. He looked up at the mirror. His eyes were bloodshot. He hadn't slept in 48 hours. Bzzzt. His phone vibrated on the edge of the sink. The sound was like a gunshot in the quiet room. He stared at it. The screen lit up. Unknown number. He knew who it was. He didn't need a caller ID. He had blocked her number 3 months ago, then her email, then her sister's number. But she kept finding ways. He snatched the phone up, his thumb hovering over the decline button. A text message popped up on the preview. "We're in town. The kids asked if Daddy is playing hide and seek. I told them the game is over." Daniel felt the bile rise in his throat. He quickly deleted the message, then the thread, then went into the settings and blocked the new number. He threw the phone onto a pile of towels. "Hey man, you good?" Daniel spun around. His best man, Robert, was standing in the doorway, adjusting his cufflinks. Robert was Sophia's cousin, a strategic choice Daniel had made to cement his place in the family. "Yeah," Daniel croaked. He cleared his throat, forcing that trademark charisma to flicker back on. "Yeah, just the heat, you know? And the tie is tight." Robert chuckled, walking over to clap him on the shoulder. "Don't worry. Once you get those vows out, The hard part is over. Then it's just champagne and the honeymoon in Bora Bora. You've made it, Danny boy. You've crossed the finish line. The finish line? That's exactly what this was. Daniel had spent 5 years curating this life. He had buried his past under layers of lies so thick he sometimes forgot the truth himself. He had reinvented himself from Danny Stigler, the debt-ridden contractor from Dayton, into Daniel Sterling, the visionary architect. He had checked everything. He had paid off the right people. He had legally changed his name. He had been so careful. She can't be here, he told himself, adjusting his silk tie. She doesn't have the money for a plane ticket, let alone a hotel in Charleston. It's a bluff. She's sitting in her trailer in Ohio trying to scare me. Let's go, Daniel said, smoothing his jacket. Don't want to keep the princess waiting. The walk to the chapel was a blur. The guests were already seated. 300 of the East Coast's elite. Senators, CEOs, socialites. The air smelled of expensive perfume and old wood. As Daniel took his place at the altar, he scanned the crowd. He was looking for a ghost. He looked for messy hair, for cheap clothes, for the chaotic energy that used to define his life. But he saw only fascinators, designer suits, and polite smiles. He exhaled. She wasn't here. It was just a text, a desperate final claw at him before he ascended to a stratosphere she couldn't touch. The organ music swelled. The heavy oak doors at the back of the chapel opened. The congregation stood. Sophia appeared. She was radiant, a vision of white against the dark stone of the church. As she began her slow walk down the aisle, her eyes locked with his. She looked terrified, he realized, but he smiled, projecting the confidence he knew she needed to see. "I've got you," his look said. "We are safe." He focused entirely on her. He tuned out the rustling of the guests. He tuned out the throbbing in his temples. He watched his future walking toward him. She reached the altar. Her father, a stoic man with iron-grey hair, placed her hand in Daniel's. "Take care of her," he muttered, more a command than a request. "With my life," Daniel whispered. The priest, Father Mulligan, a kindly old man who had baptized Sophia, began the service. "Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today." The words washed over Daniel like a soothing balm. It was happening, minutes away. Just say the words. Put the ring on, sign the paper. To join this man and this woman in holy matrimony. Daniel's heart rate began to slow. He squeezed Sophia's hand. She squeezed back, her fingers cold. "If there is anyone present," Father Mulligan intoned, his voice echoing off the vaulted ceiling, "who knows, just cause why this couple should not be joined in holy wedlock. Speak now, or forever hold your peace." It was the part of the ceremony everyone ignored. It was a formality. Usually there was a polite silence, a few stifled coughs, and then the priest moved on. Daniel held his breath, counting the seconds. 1, 2, 3. Silence. Father Mulligan took a breath to continue. Creak, the sound came from the back of the chapel. It wasn't the polite opening of a door for a late guest. It was the heavy, groaning protest of the massive oak doors being shoved open with force. The sound reverberated through the silent church. Heads turned. First the back rows, then the middle. A ripple of confusion moved through the pews. Daniel didn't turn. He froze. He stared straight at Father Mulligan, whose eyes had widened, looking over Daniel's shoulder at the entrance. Sophia felt Daniel's hand go rigid. She turned her head, looking back down the long aisle she had just walked. The light from the outside poured in, blindingly bright against the dim interior. At first, all anyone could see was a silhouette, a woman. She wasn't wearing a dress appropriate for a black tie wedding. She was wearing a worn denim jacket over a red t-shirt and jeans, but she wasn't alone. Clinging to her legs, stepping out of the bright white glare of the afternoon sun, were 3 small figures. The church went so quiet you could hear the candles flickering. The woman took a step forward, her boots clacking loudly on the stone floor. She didn't look crazy. She didn't look like a stalker. She looked exhausted. She looked like a woman who had driven 12 hours without stopping. She raised her hand, pointing a shaking finger directly at the altar. "Daniel," her voice cracked, but it carried. It was raw, stripped of all pretense. "You forgot to sign the divorce papers. Again." Then, the smallest of the 3 children, a boy with messy brown hair and Daniel's exact nose, tugged on her jeans and asked in a loud, confused whisper that echoed to the front of the church, "Mummy, is that Daddy's castle?" Daniel closed his eyes. The finish line had just moved. The silence that followed the child's question was heavy, physical. It pressed against the eardrums of 300 guests. "Mummy, is that Daddy's castle?" For 5 seconds, nobody moved. It was as if the entire congregation had been turned to stone pillars. The only movement was the dust motes dancing in the shaft of sunlight that the woman and children had just stepped through. Then the murmurs started. A low, buzzing wave of whispers that swept from the back pews to the front. "Who is that? Did she say divorce? Look at the boy. He has Daniel's chin." Sophia Caldwell didn't hear the whispers. She only heard the rushing of blood in her ears. She looked at Daniel. She expected him to laugh. She expected him to step forward, confused, and ask security to remove this deranged woman who had clearly mistaken him for someone else. But Daniel didn't move. He stood frozen, his hands clenched at his sides, his face drained of all color. He looked like a man who had just seen his own executioner. The woman in the red shirt, Sarah, started walking down the aisle. She didn't rush. She walked with the heavy, plodding steps of someone carrying the weight of the world. She held the hand of the smallest child, a girl of maybe 3, while the 2 boys, roughly 5 and 7, trailed close behind her, eyes wide with awe at the cathedral ceiling. "Security!" Daniel's voice cracked. It was high, desperate. "Get them out of here. She's a stalker. I have a restraining order." 2 burly men in black suits stepped out from the side shadows, moving towards the aisle. "Don't you dare touch them," a booming voice commanded. It wasn't Sarah. It was Arthur Caldwell, Sophia's father. He stepped down from the altar, his face a mask of cold fury. He held up a hand to the security guards, stopping them in their tracks. Arthur was a man who had built a shipping empire by smelling rot in a deal before the ink was dry. He was smelling it now. "Daniel," Arthur said, his voice deceptively calm, "do you know this woman?" "No," Daniel shouted too quickly. "I told you, Arthur, I have crazy fans. Since the Architecture Digest feature came out, people have been—" "Daniel Stigler!" Sarah shouted from the middle of the aisle. "Stop lying! For God's sake, stop lying in front of your children!" The name Stigler hit Daniel like a physical blow. He flinched. Sophia turned to him, her eyes wide. "Stigler? Who is Stigler? You said your family name was Sterling for 3 generations." Daniel reached for Sophia's hand, but she recoiled as if he were burning hot. "Soph, baby, listen to me. She's mentally ill. She's my ex-girlfriend from high school. She's been obsessed with me for years. Those aren't my kids." Sarah reached the front of the church. Up close, the guests could see the frayed hems of the boy's jeans. They could see the dark circles under Sarah's eyes. She didn't look crazy. She looked broken. She stopped 10 feet from the groom. She didn't look at Sophia. She stared straight at Daniel. "We live in a trailer, Daniel," Sarah said, her voice trembling, but loud enough for the first 10 rows to hear clearly. "We live in a trailer in Dayton because you said the business went under. You said you were in Dubai working off the debt. You said you were sending every penny you could spare." She reached into her oversized purse and pulled out a crinkled envelope. "You sent us $500 last month," she said, tears finally spilling over. $500 for 3 kids. And I thanked you. I thanked you for it. And then I see your face in a magazine at the dentist's office. Charleston's most eligible bachelor. The wedding of the century. "It's Photoshop," Daniel hissed, sweat now beading on his forehead. "It's a setup." Then the heart-breaking moment happened. The middle boy, the 5-year-old named Sammy, saw his father's face clearly for the first time. He didn't understand the tension. He didn't understand the shouting. He just saw his dad, who had been in Dubai for 2 years. "Daddy!" Sammy shrieked with pure joy. He broke away from his mother's grip and sprinted the 10 feet to the altar. "Sammy, no!" Sarah cried out. But the boy was fast. He slammed into Daniel's legs, wrapping his small arms around the expensive tuxedo trousers. He buried his face in his father's thigh. "You came back! You came back!" The church went dead silent again. Daniel stood there, arms stiff at his sides. He didn't hug the boy back. He looked down at the child with a mixture of revulsion and terror. He tried to shake his leg, to dislodge the child like a stray dog. "Get off," Daniel whispered harshly. "Get off me." Sophia watched her fiancé try to shake off a crying child. Something inside her fractured. The illusion of the last 2 years, the charm, the romance, the safety, shattered like the glass in the opening hook. She stepped forward, her massive dress rustling. She looked at the boy, then at Daniel. "He knows you, Daniel," Sophia whispered. "That child knows your smell. He knows you." "He's coached," Daniel pleaded, looking at the crowd, begging for an ally. "She trained him to do this. It's a shakedown." Sophia looked at the boy's face. It was undeniable. The shape of the eyes, the nose, even the way his hair cowlicked on the left side. It was a carbon copy of the man standing next to her. Sophia turned to the priest. "Father Mulligan, stop the ceremony." "Sophia, please." Daniel grabbed her arm. His grip was painful. "Don't let her ruin this. We can deal with this later. Just say I do, and I'll handle her. I swear, I'll handle it." Arthur Caldwell stepped in. He didn't just step in. He lunged. He grabbed Daniel by the lapels of his tuxedo and shoved him backward, breaking his grip on Sophia. "If you touch my daughter again," Arthur growled, "I will kill you right here in the house of God." Arthur turned to the guests, his voice projecting with the authority of a CEO. "The wedding is cancelled. Please make your way to the reception tent for refreshments. Family and security, stay here." The chaos that ensued was instant. 300 people stood up at once. The murmurs turned into a roar. Phones were whipped out. The live stream of the socialite wedding of the year had just turned into a viral sensation. Sarah stood amidst the chaos, picking up Sammy, who was now sobbing because his daddy wouldn't hug him. She looked at Sophia. For the first time, the two women locked eyes. "I didn't want to come," Sarah said quietly to Sophia, "but he stopped paying the health insurance. And Leo needs insulin." Sophia felt the air leave her lungs. Insulin. The man who had bought her a diamond necklace last week for no reason had left his own child without medicine. "Bring them," Sophia said, her voice icy. She pointed to the vestry door behind the altar. "Bring the children. We are going to the back. Now." "Sophia, you can't be serious," Daniel stammered, adjusting his jacket, trying to regain some dignity. "You're going to listen to this trash?" Sophia turned to him. Her eyes were dry. The tears would come later. Right now, there was only adrenaline and a cold, hard rage. "You're coming too, Daniel, and if you try to run, my father's security team will tackle you before you reach the parking lot." The vestry was a small room behind the altar, usually reserved for the priest to robe and disrobe. It smelled of incense and old paper. Now it felt like a holding cell. The room was crowded. Sophia sat on a velvet chair, her massive dress taking up half the space. Arthur stood by the door, arms crossed, blocking the exit. Sarah sat on a wooden bench, her 3 children huddled around her like baby birds. The oldest boy, Leo, looked pale and sweaty. Daniel stood in the middle of the room, pacing like a caged animal. He had loosened his tie. The facade of the perfect architect was melting away, revealing the sweaty, desperate grifter underneath. "This is kidnapping," Daniel spat, pointing at Arthur. "You can't keep me here." "I can keep you here until the police arrive," Arthur said calmly. I called the commissioner myself. He's on his way. Police? For what? Daniel laughed nervously. A wedding objection isn't a crime, Arthur. Bigamy is, Sarah said from the bench. She reached into her bag again. She pulled out a thick stack of papers. We got married in Dayton, Ohio, 8 years ago. April 12th. You left 3 years ago. You never filed for divorce. You just vanished. Sophia reached out a hand. Let me see them. Sarah hesitated, then handed the papers to the bride. Sophia's hands shook as she flipped through them. Certificate of marriage. Daniel James Stigler and Sarah Ann Miller. She looked up at Daniel. Stigler! I changed it legally, Daniel shouted. For the brand. Sterling sounds better for high-end architecture. That's not a crime. And the marriage? Sophia asked, her voice dangerously quiet. Did you legally change your marital status? I sent her the papers. Daniel gestured wildly at Sarah. She refused to sign them. She's holding me hostage. You never sent papers, Sarah said, her voice tired. She was rubbing Leo's back. You sent a text message saying you were going undercover for a government contracting job in the Middle East. You said if I tried to contact you, I'd put your life in danger. You said the bad guys would find us. Sophia let out a short, incredulous laugh. A spy? You told her you were a spy. Daniel turned red. I had to protect them. I was in debt to some loan sharks. If they knew where I was. So you came here, Arthur interrupted, stepping forward. You found my daughter. You saw a vulnerable target with a trust fund. You romanced her. Made her fall in love with this Daniel Sterling persona. And what was the plan, Daniel? Marry her, get access to the joint accounts, and then what? Pay off your sharks? Keep 2 families? I love her, Daniel yelled, pointing at Sophia. I love Sophia. The money didn't matter. You put a $50,000 charge on my black card last week, Sophia said, for catering deposits. I checked with the caterer this morning. They never got a deposit. Where is that money, Daniel? And the room went silent. Daniel's mouth opened and closed. I invested it. Crypto. I was trying to double it to pay for the honeymoon surprise. You sent it to an offshore account in the Caymans, Arthur said. He held up his phone. My team has been running a background check since the moment that woman walked in. We should have done a deeper dive 6 months ago, and that is my failure. But we're doing it now. Arthur read from his screen. Daniel Stigler, 5 bankruptcies, 2 counts of fraud in Ohio, dismissed due to lack of evidence. And, here it is. A warrant for unpaid child support, totaling $45,000. I was going to pay it back, Daniel screamed. He looked at Sarah. I was doing this for us, for the kids. Once I married Sophia, I'd have access to the Caldwell Trust. I could have sent you millions, Sarah. We could have all been happy. Sarah looked at him with pure disgust. You were going to use her money to pay me off. You were going to make me an accomplice to your fraud. It's not fraud if everyone wins. Daniel was unhinged now, his eyes wild. He turned to Sophia, dropping to his knees, grabbing the hem of her dress. Soph, please, you have so much money. You don't even count it. Sarah has nothing. I was just trying to redistribute it. Like Robin Hood. I love you, but I had to help them. I'm a good father. A good father? Sarah stood up, her anger finally boiling over. Leo is in diabetic ketoacidosis right now. His pump broke 3 days ago. I called you. I texted you. I begged you for $300 for the replacement. You blocked me. You blocked your dying son so you could buy... What? These cufflinks? She pointed at the gold cufflinks on Daniel's wrists. Those cost $4,000, Sophia whispered. She remembered buying them for him. She felt sick, physically sick. Sophia stood up. The massive dress felt like a cage. She looked down at the man kneeling before her, the man she had planned to grow old with. He was a stranger, a parasite. Get off my dress, she said. Soph, I said, get off! She kicked her foot out, her heel catching him in the shoulder. He fell back. Sophia looked at Arthur. "Daddy, get him out of here, before I do something that will put me in jail." Arthur nodded to the security guards who had just entered the vestry. "Hold him. The police are pulling into the driveway." "Wait!" Daniel scrambled back, pressing himself against the wall where the priest's robes hung. "You can't arrest me. I haven't done anything illegal yet. The marriage didn't happen. I didn't sign the license." "Attempted bigamy is a crime," Arthur said. "Fraud is a crime. Embezzlement, which is what you did with that 50,000 last week, is a crime." Daniel looked around the room, his eyes darting for an exit. There was a small window, high up, too high to reach. The only door was blocked by Arthur and the guards. He looked at his kids. "Sammy? Leo? Tell them. Tell them Daddy loves you. Tell the nice lady to let Daddy go." Leo, the 7-year-old, looked at his father. He was sweating and clearly feeling ill from his blood sugar levels. He looked at his mother, then at Sophia. "You're not a spy, Daddy," Leo said softly. "You're just a liar." Daniel's face crumpled. Sophia walked over to Sarah. She ignored Daniel completely. She knelt down, not an easy feat in her dress, to be eye level with the kids. "What did you say his name is?" Sophia asked Sarah, pointing to the oldest boy. "Leo," Sarah said, wiping her tears. "He needs juice or something. His sugar is dropping." Sophia turned to her father. "Dad, get the medics in here, now, and get someone to bring food from the reception. The good stuff, not the appetizers." She looked back at Sarah. "I'm sorry, I didn't know." "I know," Sarah said, her shoulders sagging. "He's good at what he does." "We're going to fix this," Sophia said, a steely resolve entering her voice. She wasn't just the heartbroken bride anymore. She was a Caldwell. "We're going to get your son his medicine. We're going to get you a hotel room that isn't on wheels, and then—" She stood up and looked at Daniel, who was now weeping into his hands. "And then we are going to bury him." Just then, the door opened. 2 uniformed police officers stepped in, but behind them walked a woman in a sharp grey suit. She held a briefcase and looked like she owned the place. "Oh no," Daniel whispered. Sophia frowned. "Who is that?" Arthur smiled grimly. "That's my attorney." "But I didn't call her." The woman in the grey suit adjusted her glasses and looked at Daniel. "Hello, Mr. Stigler. My name is Detective Vance, Fraud Division. We've been tracking your IP address for 6 months. We just didn't know where you were physically located until you live-streamed your wedding." She held up handcuffs. "But here's the twist," Detective Vance said, looking at Sophia. "He's not just wanted for fraud in Ohio. We need to talk about his wife in Seattle." Sarah and Sophia looked at each other. "Seattle?" they both said in unison. The air in the vestry had turned stale, heavy with the scent of wilting lilies and betrayal. The detective, whom Arthur introduced as Detective Holloway, correcting the name on the badge that Sophia had squinted at through her tears, set her briefcase on the small table. "Seattle," Sophia repeated, the word tasting like ash in her mouth. "You have a wife in Seattle?" Daniel, currently handcuffed to a heavy oak chair provided by the security team, refused to look up. He stared at his polished shoes, muttering something about a misunderstanding. Detective Holloway opened a file. It wasn't thin. It was a binder, thick with photos and surveillance logs. "Not a wife," Holloway corrected, her tone clinical. "A fiancée. Her name is Jennifer Brooks. She was a senior VP at a tech firm in Bellevue. 2 years ago, she met a man named David Stone." Charming. A venture capitalist looking for the next unicorn startup. He swept her off her feet. Holloway tossed a photo onto the table. It showed Daniel, clean-shaven, wearing glasses, and sporting a slightly different haircut, clinking champagne glasses with a brunette woman on a boat. Sarah gasped, leaning forward to look. "He wore glasses. He has 20/20th's vision." "Props," Holloway said. "David Stone convinced Jennifer to liquidate her 401k and mortgage her house to invest in his stealth mode AI company. He even set up a fake office, hired actors to play employees for a week when she visited. It was elaborate. How much? Arthur asked, his voice low. $1.2 million, Holloway replied. But that wasn't the worst part. When the money was gone, David disappeared. But he left a paper trail that made it look like Jennifer had embezzled funds from her own company to fuel a gambling addiction. He framed her. Sophia felt the room spin. Where is she now? Washington State Corrections Center for Women, Holloway said grimly. She's serving 5 years for corporate fraud. She still maintains her innocence. But nobody believed her. Until we found a fingerprint on a forged bank transfer document 3 weeks ago. A partial print that matched a Daniel Stigler from a petty theft arrest in Ohio 10 years ago. Sophia looked at Daniel. He wasn't just a liar. He wasn't just a deadbeat dad. He was a monster who destroyed lives for sport. You let an innocent woman go to prison? Sophia whispered. The horror was colder than the anger. You let her rot in a cell while you were here, tasting wedding cakes with me. Daniel finally looked up. His eyes were wet, but there was no real remorse there, only panic. It got out of hand, Soph. I didn't mean for her to go to jail. I just needed an exit strategy. She was asking too many questions. I had to plant the evidence to get her to back off, but the DA went too hard. It wasn't my fault. It wasn't your fault, Sarah screamed. She launched herself off the bench, lunging for him. You ruin everything you touch. Arthur held Sarah back gently. He's done, Sarah. He's finished. Not quite, Detective Holloway interrupted. We have the warrant for the fraud. But to get him for the Seattle charges, to exonerate Jennifer, we need hard evidence. We need the money trail, and Mr. Stigler here is very good at hiding assets. We know he moves money through shell companies, but we don't have the master key. We don't have his ledger. Holloway looked at Sophia. He's been living in your house for 6 months, Miss Caldwell. Did he have a safe, a private computer, a storage unit? Sophia thought back. Daniel was meticulously private. He had a home office that he kept locked, claiming client confidentiality. He has a safe in the wall of his closet, Sophia said, her mind racing. He told me it was for his grandmother's antique jewelry. He said he lost the key and was waiting for a locksmith. He wears the key, Sarah said suddenly. Everyone turned to her. What? Sophia asked. Around his neck, Sarah said, pointing at Daniel's chest. Under his shirt. He never takes it off. Not in the shower. Not when he sleeps. He told me it was a religious medallion his mother gave him on her deathbed. Sophia walked over to Daniel. He shrank back against the chair. Don't, he warned. Sophia, that's personal property. You have no property, she spat. She reached into his collar. His skin was clammy. She felt the cold metal chain and yanked it. A silver chain snapped. Dangling from it wasn't a medallion, but a small, intricate digital key fob and a physical brass key. His mother is still alive, Sarah muttered. She lives in Tampa. She hates him. Sophia handed the keys to the detective. Go to my house, tear it apart. Wait, Daniel shouted, struggling against the cuffs. Let's make a deal, Arthur. Arthur, listen to me. I know things about your competitors. I know about the zoning bribes for the waterfront project. I overheard you talking. If you let me go, I won't leak it. Arthur stared at him, unimpressed. The waterfront project is completely legal, you idiot. I was complaining about the zoning delays, not bribes. I run a clean business, unlike you. Arthur nodded to the police officers. Get him out of my sight. As they hauled Daniel up, he looked at Sophia one last time. The mask dropped completely. His face twisted into a sneer. You were boring anyway, he spat. Jennifer was smarter. Sarah was better in bed. You were just a bank account with a pretty face. The slap echoed through the vestry like a gunshot. Sophia didn't slap him. Sarah did. She stepped in and delivered a backhand so hard it split Daniel's lip. That, Sarah said, breathing hard, is for the insulin. The police dragged a bleeding, laughing Daniel out the back door to avoid the press. But the press was already swarming the front gates. The room fell silent. It was just Sophia, Sarah, the kids, Arthur, and the detective. I need to go to the house, Holloway said. I need to secure that safe. I'm coming with you, Sophia said. She looked down at her dress, the ruined symbol of her naivety. Just let me change first. I never want to see this dress again. She looked at Sarah, who was holding a sleeping Leo. The other two kids were playing with the tassels on a velvet cushion, oblivious to the fact that their father was going to prison. You can't stay at a hotel, Sophia said. Not with the press out there. They'll eat you alive. I can't afford a hotel anyway, Sarah admitted, looking down. We slept in the car last night. Sophia felt a fresh wave of tears, but she blinked them back. You're staying here. The guest house has 4 bedrooms and a fully stocked kitchen, and a pool. The kids will like the pool. I can't accept that. Sarah shook her head. I just wanted to stop the wedding. I didn't want to be a burden. You saved my life, Sophia said, grabbing Sarah's hand. You and those kids saved me from marrying a monster. You are staying. Arthur cleared his throat. I'll have the staff set up the guest house, and I'll have the family doctor come check on the boy's blood sugar immediately. For the first time all day, Sarah smiled. It was a weak, watery smile, but it was real. Thank you. 3 hours later, the sun had set over Charleston. The Caldwell estate, usually a beacon of light during parties, was dark and quiet. The guests had been sent home. The caterers had packed up thousands of dollars of uneaten lobster and caviar. Sophia had changed into sweatpants and an oversized hoodie. She sat on the floor of what was supposed to be the Groom's office. Detective Holloway was at the desk, wearing latex gloves. Sarah sat in the armchair, nursing a mug of hot tea. The kids were asleep in the guest house, watched over by Sophia's childhood nanny. Okay, Holloway said. The physical key opened the wall safe. The digital fob decrypted the hard drive we found inside. The detective turned the laptop screen around so they could see. It wasn't just a ledger. It was a database. My God, Sophia whispered. On the screen was a spreadsheet. It had columns: name, location, target amount, status, vulnerability. There were dozens of names. Asterisk Sarah Miller. Status, depleted. Vulnerability, low self-esteem, isolation. Asterisk. Jennifer Brooks. Status, incarcerated, was silenced. Vulnerability, career ambition, loneliness. Asterisk. Sophia Caldwell. Status, active. Vulnerability, father approval, desire for stability. He studied me, Sophia said, feeling violated. He knew I wanted my father's approval. That's why he acted like such a hard-working businessman. It was all a script. Look at this. Holloway pointed to a folder labeled Assets. She clicked it open. It contained scans of passports. There were 6 of them. Asterisk. Daniel Stigler, USA. Asterisk. Daniel Sterling, USA. Asterisk. David Stone, USA. Asterisk. Dominic Savant, France. Asterisk. Arthur King, UK. Asterisk. Michael Trent, Canada. He was planning to become Michael Trent next, Sarah noted, pointing to a flight itinerary saved in the folder, a one-way ticket to Vancouver for next Tuesday. He was going to leave me on the honeymoon, Sophia realized. He wasn't going to stay married. He was going to clean out the accounts and vanish in Bora Bora. It gets worse, Holloway said. She opened a folder labeled Correspondence. It contained encrypted chat logs. Holloway ran a quick decryption tool. Daniel was arrogant. His passwords were weak. He used variations of his own birthday. The chat was with a user named the Matriarch. Daniel, the hook is set. The wedding is Saturday. Transferring the $50K catering deposit to the holding account tonight. The Matriarch. Good. Don't get sloppy. Did you secure the blueprints for the Caldwell shipping logistics hub? Daniel. Working on it. Her father keeps the server room locked. But once I'm son-in-law, I'll get the access code. The Matriarch. The buyer in Shanghai is getting impatient. They want the shipping routes, Daniel. The money is just a bonus. The intel is the real payout. The room went dead silent. Arthur Caldwell, who had been leaning against the doorframe, straightened up. His face went pale. He wasn't just a con man, Arthur whispered. He was a corporate spy. "Who is the matriarch?" Sophia asked. "Scroll up," Sarah said. "Look at the date from 3 years ago." Holloway scrolled. "The matriarch. Sarah is becoming a problem. She's asking about the trips. Cut her loose. Leave the kids. They are liabilities." "Daniel, I can't just leave them." The matriarch. "You will if you want your share of the Jennifer Brooks payout. Do it, Danny. Mummy knows best." "Mummy," Sophia breathed. "You said his mother was in Tampa." "She is," Sarah said. "She's a retired nurse. She's 70. She knits blankets." "Or so she says," Holloway muttered. "I'm running a background check on Martha Stigler right now." The detective typed furiously. A few seconds later, a mugshot popped up. It was an older woman, but the eyes were cold, sharp, and intelligent. "Martha Stigler," Holloway read. "Arrested in 1990 for check fraud. Arrested in 1998 for insurance fraud. Released on parole in 2005. She's not a nurse. She's a career criminal. She trained him." "It's a family business," Sophia said, disgusted. "She guides him. She tells him who to target. She helps him launder the money." Suddenly the phone sitting on the desk, Daniel's burner phone, lit up. A text message. Sender, the matriarch. Message: "Why is the live stream off? I can't see the ceremony. Did you sign the papers? Text me back immediately." Holloway looked at Sophia. "We have a choice. We can hand this phone into evidence and let the FBI try to track her down. It could take months. She'll go underground the second she realizes Daniel is compromised." Sophia looked at the phone. She looked at Sarah, who was holding the hand of the woman who had unknowingly financed her ex-husband's cruelty. She looked at her father, whose life's work had almost been stolen. "Or?" Sophia asked. "Or," Holloway said, a small, dangerous smile playing on her lips. "We text her back. We lure her in." Sophia picked up the phone. Her hands weren't shaking anymore. "What do I say?" "Tell her it's done," Arthur said, stepping forward. "Tell her the wedding is over. I'm drunk on champagne, and you're in the server room downloading the shipping routes. Tell her you need help decrypting the files." "She won't buy it," Sarah said. "She knows he's not tech-savvy enough to decrypt files alone. That was David Stone's skill, not Daniel's." "Then tell her you need her," Sophia said. "Tell her to log in remotely. If she logs in, the FBI can trace her location in real time." Holloway nodded. "Exactly." Sophia typed the message. 2. The matriarch mission success. Married. Old man is passed out. I'm at the terminal, but the encryption is stronger than expected. I need you to bypass the firewall. I'm opening the port now. Don't leave me hanging, Mum." They waited. 1 minute. 2 minutes. The silence in the room was agonizing. "Ding," the matriarch. "You useless boy. I'm logging in now. Keep the line open." On the laptop screen, a terminal window popped up. Text began scrolling rapidly. "Remote connection established." "Trace it," Holloway barked into a radio. "Cyber unit, are you seeing this? I need a geolocation now." "Come on," Arthur whispered. "Tracing," the voice on the radio crackled. "Bouncing through 3 VPNs. Waiting for the source IP. Got it." Holloway looked at the team. "We got her." "Where is she?" Sarah asked. Holloway looked at the screen, and her eyebrows shot up. "She's not in Tampa," Holloway said. "She's at the Holiday Inn Express, downtown Charleston." Sophia's eyes went wide. She came to the wedding. She wanted to watch her investment pay off in person, Arthur growled. "Let's go," Holloway said, drawing her weapon. "I need units at the Holiday Inn. Room." She checked the trace. "Room 304. Suspect is armed and dangerous." "I want to see her," Sophia said. "I want to see the woman who made him." "Absolutely not," Arthur said. "Dad," Sophia turned to him. "This isn't just about you. She helped him destroy Sarah's life. She helped him frame Jennifer. She almost destroyed us. I need to see her in cuffs." Arthur looked at his daughter. The soft, pliable girl who just wanted to be loved was gone. In her place was a Caldwell. "Okay," Arthur said, "but you stay behind me." The convoy of unmarked police vehicles moved silently through the streets of Charleston, flashing lights off but sirens ready to wail at a moment's notice. Inside the lead SUV, Sophia sat next to Detective Holloway. Her wedding dress was gone, replaced by a grey tracksuit, but she still wore the diamond earrings Daniel had given her that morning, evidence she would soon hand over. "She's in room 304, Holloway said into a radio. "SWAT is taking the stairs. We go up the elevator. Do not engage unless she draws a weapon. This woman is a manipulator. She'll try to talk her way out." The car screeched to a halt in front of the Holiday Inn Express. It was a mundane setting for a mastermind. Beige stucco, fluorescent lights, a vending machine visible through the lobby glass. "Stay behind the TAC team," Holloway ordered Sophia and Arthur. They moved in a phalanx, boots thudding on the carpeted hallway of the third floor. The tension was palpable. This wasn't just a criminal. This was the architect of their pain. They reached room 304. Holloway signaled. 3, 2, 1. Crash! The battering ram hit the door, splintering the lock. The SWAT team flooded the room. "Police! Hands in the air!" Sophia peered around the frame of the door. She expected a struggle. She expected a woman running for the window. Instead, she saw a grandmotherly figure sitting calmly at a small round table by the window. Martha Stigler wore a floral blouse and reading glasses. She had a room service tray in front of her, a club sandwich and a pot of tea. A laptop was open, but she wasn't typing. She was simply watching the door. She took a sip of tea as 6 assault rifles were pointed at her chest. "You're late," Martha said, her voice raspy from years of smoking. "I expected you 10 minutes ago, when Daniel stopped responding." "Martha Stigler, you are under arrest," Holloway barked, moving in to cuff her. "Careful with the left arm, dear," Martha said dryly. "Arthritis." As they pulled her up, Sophia stepped into the room. Martha's eyes, cold, blue, and terrifyingly sharp, locked onto her. There was no fear in them, only assessment. "So," Martha said, looking Sophia up and down, "you're the shipping heiress. Pretty. A bit softer than I usually pick for him." But the trust fund was substantial. "It wasn't a pick," Sophia said, her voice shaking with rage. "He loved me. In his own twisted way, he loved me." Martha let out a dry, cackling laugh. "Love? Daniel doesn't know what love is. I didn't teach him that. I taught him how to mirror people. He became what you wanted him to be. You wanted a rugged provider? He became a builder. That girl in Seattle wanted a genius? He became an investor. He's a blank slate, honey. You fell in love with a reflection." "Why?" Arthur stepped forward, his fists clenched. "You're 70 years old. You have money stashed away. Why keep doing it?" Martha shrugged as the cuffs clicked tight. "It's not about the money, Mr. Caldwell. It's about the puzzle. It's about seeing how stupid smart people can be. And you," she sneered at Arthur, "you were the easiest mark of all. You were so desperate for a successor, so desperate for a son you never had. You let a wolf walk right through your front door just because he wore a hard hat." Arthur flinched. She was right. "Take her away," Holloway said, disgusted. "Wait," Sophia said. She walked up to the old woman. They were face to face. "He called you Mummy in the texts," Sophia said quietly. "He begged you for help, and you were just going to leave him to take the fall." "Daniel was a deteriorating asset," Martha said coldly. "He was getting sloppy, getting emotional. He let that woman from Ohio live. He let her keep the kids. That was his mistake. I told him to cut ties completely. When a tool breaks, you throw it away." Sophia stared at her. This woman was a void, a black hole of humanity. "You're wrong," Sophia said. "He didn't just let them live. He kept the kids' photos. He kept the drawings they made him. He's a monster because of you, but somewhere in there, he's still a person. You? You're just a husk." Martha's smile faltered for a fraction of a second. "Enjoy the trial, Sophia," Martha whispered. "It'll be the show of the century." As the police dragged Martha out, passing the stunned hotel guests in the hallway, Sophia felt a strange sense of release. The puppet master was gone. The strings were cut. "It's over," Arthur said, putting a hand on her shoulder. "Not yet," Sophia said, turning back to the room. She looked at the laptop Martha had left open. "We need to make sure Jennifer Brooks gets out of prison." Holloway sat down at the computer. "Don't worry. With this hard drive and the testimony we're going to get from Daniel, when he realizes his mummy sold him out, Jennifer will be home for Christmas." 6 months later. The Charleston County Courthouse was packed. The humid summer had given way to a crisp autumn, turning the leaves on the live oaks a brilliant orange. Sophia sat in the front row. She wasn't wearing white, and she wasn't wearing black. She wore a sharp, navy blue suit. She looked like her father. Next to her sat Sarah. She looked different. Her hair was cut and styled. She wore a simple but elegant dress. She looked healthy. And sitting between them was Leo, playing a video game on a handheld console, an insulin pump securely attached to his belt. The bailiff announced, "All rise." Daniel was led into the courtroom. He looked smaller in the orange jumpsuit. The charm was gone. The swagger was gone. He looked at the gallery, his eyes scanning for someone. He saw Sophia. He saw Sarah. He saw his son. He gave a small, tentative wave. Leo didn't wave back. He just went back to his game. The judge, a stern woman with zero tolerance for nonsense, read the sentencing. "Mr. Stigler, in light of the overwhelming evidence provided by your co-conspirator, your mother, and the digital forensics, the court finds you guilty on all 24 counts. Fraud, grand larceny, bigamy, identity theft, corporate espionage." The list went on. "However," the judge continued, "due to your cooperation in the case against Martha Stigler, and your testimony which led to the exoneration of Jennifer Brooks, the court is granting some leniency." Sophia held her breath. "You are sentenced to 25 years in federal prison, with the possibility of parole after 20. Daniel slumped. 20 years. He would be 55 when he got out. His children would be grown. His life was over. As the officers led him away, he stopped near the railing. "Sarah," he croaked. "Soph." Sarah looked at him. There was no hate left in her eyes. Just pity. "Goodbye, Daniel." Sophia didn't speak. She just nodded, a final closing of the book. The air was fresh. Reporters were clamoring for a quote, but Arthur's security team kept them at bay. A black town car pulled up. A woman stepped out. She was thin, pale, and looked like she hadn't seen the sun in 2 years. But she was smiling. It was Jennifer Brooks. Sophia walked over to her. They had never met, but they knew everything about each other. "You came," Sophia said. "I had to see it," Jennifer said, her voice raspy. "I had to see him go away." "He's gone," Sophia said. "It's done." Jennifer looked at Sarah. She walked over and the two women hugged. It was an embrace of shared trauma, of survival. "Thank you," Jennifer whispered to Sarah. "If you hadn't walked into that church—" "I didn't do it alone," Sarah said, looking at Sophia. "We did it." 2 months later, Sophia stood on the balcony of the Caldwell estate. The wedding tent was long gone. In its place, tables were set up for a different kind of event. "Ready, boss?" Sophia turned. It was Sarah. She was holding a clipboard. "Ready?" Sophia smiled. After the trial, Sophia had made a decision. She didn't want to just go back to being a socialite. She wanted to build something real. She had hired Sarah, who turned out to be an organizational genius, as her operations manager. They had started the Brooks Miller Foundation, named after Jennifer and Sarah. Its mission? To provide legal and financial aid to victims of romance scams and financial fraud. Below on the lawn, women and men were gathering. They were survivors, people who had lost everything to liars, to spies, to businessmen. Arthur walked out onto the balcony, holding 2 glasses of lemonade. He handed one to Sophia and one to Sarah. "The governor is here," Arthur said, beaming with pride. He wants to talk about changing the marriage license laws to require stricter background checks. He's calling it Sophia's Law. No, Sophia said, looking out at the crowd. She looked at Leo running across the lawn with the other kids. She looked at Jennifer, who was down there giving a speech to a group of women. Call it Leo's Law, Sophia said, because the truth didn't walk in wearing a tuxedo. It walked in wearing light-up sneakers. Sarah laughed, clinking her glass against Sophia's. To the truth. To the truth, Sophia agreed, and to checking the damn background. The sun set over Charleston, not on a tragedy, but on a beginning. The ex hadn't come alone, and thank God for that. Wow, I still get chills thinking about that moment in the church. What started as a nightmare for Sophia ended up saving 3 women and bringing justice to a man who thought he could outsmart everyone. It just goes to show. Trust is important. But verification? That's essential. If you think your partner's story has a few too many holes, or if mummy is a little too involved in the finances, maybe do a quick Google search. You might just save your own life. If you enjoyed this roller coaster of a story, please smash that like button. It really helps the channel grow and lets me know you want more real-life drama stories like this one. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a twist. And let me know in the comments, would you have forgiven Daniel if he returned the money? I'll see you in the next video.